Alright.
I'm ready.
Alright. Me too. Hi, Emanuela, Deyanova. I'm at your studio where you have your practice. You're a relationship coach and you recently published a book, Oneindige Liefde.
Mm-hmm.
Kun je daar wat meer over vertellen?
Zeker. It's been a journey. Het is eigenlijk niet een echt gewone boek en bij mij ging het een beetje anders dan denk ik bij de meeste writers. En deze boek was eigenlijk niet bedoeld om zo snel te gaan, maar het is niet een boek waar ik als auteur ben voorbereid en geschreven en nagedacht, maar het was eigenlijk een snelle trein. Eén dag in coronatijd kwam de publisher en zei: ik heb een boek nodig die hoop geeft in het gebied van liefde en relaties. Wil je dat doen? Je hebt 3 maanden.
Wauw.
Good luck.
Ja.
En komt zo'n bericht naar binnen en je denkt 3 maanden Mission Impossible.
Mm.
Maar je kan ook niet nee zeggen tegen zo'n voorstel. Dus dat is mijn eerste boek, mijn eerste ervaring.
Ja.
En we hebben een prachtig team eromheen verzameld om dat te mogen doen in 3 maanden. Bijzonder redacteur, bijzonder schrijfster, bijzonder binnenwerk. Dus het was teamwork, moet ik zeggen. Maar we managed 3 maanden en het boek was geboren. Dus het is eigenlijk een bijzonder proces geworden. En het boek zelf zeg ik nooit dat het echt een boek is, maar het is eigenlijk gereedschapkist in Nederlands.
Gereedschapskist, ja.
Thanks.
Ja.
Toolbox in een boek.
Ja.
Omdat het echt heel erg aan één kant is, mijn redacteur zei het heel mooi. Ze zei, ik heb nog nooit zo'n boek gelezen waar je aan één kant een roman hebt en aan de andere kant heb je echt de praktische, theoretische kant. En dat hebben we mooi kunnen maken, waar wij eigenlijk in het boek, de rode draadje in het boek is mijn liefdesverhaal met mijn partner David. Hoe en wat hebben wij, hoe zeg je dat in Nederlands? What we did wrong, what any couple shouldn't go there, and please don't do the same mistakes with us. Maar wat zijn de dingen die onze relatie hebben gered? En niet alleen gered, maar ook de volgende niveau gebracht. Dus dat is een beetje het boek. Onze verhalen van mij, mooie stellen die hier komen. En de verhaal, de praktische. Wat is de A, B, C en tot de Z van de liefde.
Ja, want het is natuurlijk met liefde, ik ben met Liefdeswijk ook geweest, daar heb ik je ook onstage natuurlijk gezien. En Liefdesbang gelezen, Jan Geurt, you name it. En ook uit eigen ervaring natuurlijk gezien waar het misgaat en waar je dan wel eigenlijk, dus wat je ook natuurlijk zegt van, je hebt die bovenlaag en daar ga je heen en weer en wat zit daaronder en daarin durven, dat is voor velen zo uitdagend, challenging.
Het is uitdagend.
It's to be totally kwetsbaar, vulnerable.
Ja.
En hoe was jouw proces daar zelf in?
Nou, de proces was echt door de blubber heen, I don't know how to say it, door de modder. Ja, sorry. Dus de diepste, wat een stijl kan raken en wat een stijl kan verkeerd doen, hebben wij gedaan, denk ik. En mijn proces was inderdaad om überhaupt een relatie te kunnen hebben, moet je eerst een relatie met jezelf kunnen hebben. En het is een echte cliché en ik irriteerde me ontzettend aan die cliché toen voor de crisis, zeg maar. Ja. Het is echt voor mij is echt een relatie voor de crisis en een relatie na de crisis. En Esther Perel zegt het heel mooi, je trouwt soms met één persoon of trouw je 5 keer in je leven en soms trouw je 5 keer in je leven met dezelfde persoon. En dus voor de crisis voor mij was, het hoort zo, ik hoop dat de kinderen, als de kinderen wat ouder zijn, dat het beter zou gaan. Ik hoop dat als ik mij in mijn werkplek beter voel, dat ik ook een leuker mens ben. Ik hoop dat als de bedrijf en het boek van David oud is, dat hij terug thuis zou zijn. En ik hoopte en ik hoopte en ik hoopte. En dat is dus de persoon in mij voor de crisis. En hoop is denk ik de allerergste, it's the number one reason for divorce, I think.
Yes, I can relate to that.
Okay, I see it touches you.
Yes, of course. I went very deep because of hope. I always had hope and hope and hope. And at a point I was starting to go in and start loving me and build a relationship with myself. And my counterpart couldn't for himself yet. I'm pleased and I'm happy now. But I feel very complete, more than I was in my marriage, because I was fill up my pain, fill my needs I didn't get as a child, or everything projecting on the other and make me complete. No, you have to go inwards.
Yeah, I definitely, this is number one step, but there is number two step. And we always attract, so in English or in Dutch, it doesn't matter.
When you can express it best.
Okay, I love that. You always marry your unfinished business.
Yes, of course.
And you always would attract, in the first phase, especially that I explain in the book, you know, it is the verliefdheidsfase, when we are in love, where we are literally drugged from nature with this cocktail of hormones, where you're on the zonnebril on, everything is pink. He or she is a Superman, Superwoman. I am Superman, Superwoman. I feel like conquering the world. Anything you ask me, I can do, because of this beautiful, beautiful set of hormones we have inside. But marrying your unfinished business is two-side streets. On one side, in relationships, in order to work, is I have a lot to do with myself. And indeed, I would reach out for you to fulfill my needs, which are unmet. And very often, indeed, like you say, childhood. So, there are so many things. But anyway, I think 90% of the relational problems, which I see here in my practice, 90 come from childhood. And it's very sad, because these are subconscious patterns. So our subconscious patterns and beliefs, they control mainly our lives. And so the dynamic between partners. And if we are unaware of them and how they function and why they repeat themselves, we cannot change them. And that's a sad thing. And it's a very sad thing that we don't have school for relationships, which I'm setting up right now.
Great.
But
I think it's needed.
I think it's so needed, because it can prevent so much pain, you know. And going back to your question, on one hand, yes, I have to be willing to do self-inquiry in order to be able to at least be able to sustain this part of the two pillars, which eventually can grow into family or not. On the other hand, what I'm going to do as partner, if you would be my partner, I would ask you to stretch. So, for example, very, very nice example. You want an example? Yesterday, a couple, I love this couple, a very young couple comes to me, and he's like, they have a young child, it's surviving modus, young children, troppenjaren in Dutch,
Very intense.
It's very intense. And so he's saying, I really need one evening per week away, because I need to charge the battery. Whether she has the subconscious belief that everybody is leaving her, she really needs the reassurance that her partner is there for her. And so now we did a session where he firmly had to ask her for what his deepest desire is. And now, if she's willing to stretch, this is stretching out of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
But when you're willing to stretch out of your comfort zone and give your partner what they are asking from you, and your partner always asks from you something you do not have.
Yes, of course.
Or do. Actually, you have it, but you haven't developed it.
No. Yeah.
Right. And at the moment she's giving him the gift of freedom, 1 day per week, she's giving herself a gift. And this is healing this insecure inner child or work that she's not lovable, that people leave her. So it is, our partners are actually helping us to grow. And that's the beautiful thing. And if we see our partners as the gift of us becoming whole again, then we are willing to stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch until we experience wholeness and this solidity. So on one hand, I do understand the work on self, but it's so beautiful to be able to give.
Yeah, but it's, I think, how I see it, it is you help each other heal. And if you're willing and willing to stretch and willing to, I feel it, the panic or insecurity, and just sit with it and don't try to fix it for the other, but just also believe in the other, that they can carry themselves and I think it's very beautiful if you can do that together.
You carry everything you carry, everything which is in your path, you can carry it.
Yeah.
And no matter how heavy it is, it came to you because you're able to. That's what my teacher always said, the systemic work teacher said, your lot, your destiny has been given to you specially because you can carry as much and because you have enough gift, enough power within you to transform it into something beautiful, into a gift, or to heal a wound, or stretch yourself into wholeness. So this is the dynamic of lover relationships. I think it's we call it crossing the bridge in here in words. It's like there is this space between the two of us, and sometimes there are couples coming who are live quite some years together, and some of them says, wow, I know exactly what he's gonna say, or I know her very well, the same trick over and over again. And then I'm teaching them the technique to really cross over from one world, which I am, and the other world, which is the partner, and cross the bridge fully and see and be a visitor in the world of your partner. And it's astonishing because these people rediscover their partners over and over again, and the only thing they realize is, I know nothing about my partner. Really, because I've never crossed the bridge, and this is the essence of relationships. Can I cross the bridge to your world, but only the pure essence of me? So not my belemmeringen, not my questions to you, not my thoughts about you and about the situation, nothing which is coming from the past. All the luggage stays in the rucksack, in the backpack. And only the pure essence, which is pure presence. And when we stretch the muscle of pure presence, we can be lovers. Only then.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's very beautiful, and it's so true. Yeah. It's very, I see it, but I also see it in friendship relationships with my girls, and but also male, and every relationship, if the will to connect and be present with each other, no judgment, and if the other triggers you, hey, I'm triggered, okay, something going on, and take ownership of that, and deepen the connection, and it's so magical.
But it takes practice. I would say our partners would be the one who would trigger our buttons and push our buttons the most, and that's why partner relationships is the work. But our parents, our siblings, our co-workers, friends, of course. And indeed, it's very powerful what you say. How can I stay, when something triggers me, say something about me? And not projecting, okay, it triggers me, so I'm going to shut off and I'm going to leave, or I'm going to attack you, because this is, the reptile brain who's going to immediately protect you from the pain. And when we get triggered, especially from our closest
Of course.
and partners, we react from this reptile brain. And it's a sad thing because we're protecting ourselves from the pain which is being triggered, but we are actually shutting off, like putting a wall between the two of us, so the connection, the breach is closed.
Yeah.
No crossing the breach. No, I can't see your perspective. It's only my perspective, and it's only my survival right now. And what happens is that you also cutting off from the brain to your heart, or from the part where you can be empathic, to the part where you are survivor. So you cannot get to, you freeze actually, the level of the water freezes, and you cannot go deep inside of you where lays your wisdom.
Yeah.
You know, the belly has been discovered where our intuition resides, let's say in a more spiritual way, is our second brain. And between the cognitive brain then and the intuition brain, there is no connection. And when there is no connection there is no connection with no other human being.
Yeah.
And connection has been proven, and we are such a lucky generation, because we are one of the first generations. I think relational therapy and therapy on love and emotion exists for 50, 60 years. That's it. Yeah. Our grandparents couldn't have this.
No.
You know, they wouldn't be able to go to relational therapy or emotional intelligence, because it just, the science was not so far. Now we are the lucky ones which for the first time know how love works. And when you know how love works, you know, love is a story which we all write.
Yeah.
And now for the first time we decide what to write and how it's gonna end.
Yeah.
We are the first one who can choose that.
Yeah.
And before that, het hoorde zo erbij, you know, it's supposed to be, you know, you're supposed to marry this and this, and you're supposed to stay, and divorce was a bad word, or it was impossible. And if you had problems, just stay, stick with them. It's, you know, the advice of my grandmother, I remember, was, if you have a problem with your husband, you have to obey. Point.
Wow.
Point.
Yeah.
And my grandmother was stolen from a village, and she's 86. So imagine. Yeah. Imagine. They used to steal the brides. Yeah. So I think our relationships are we are developing, and it's very important for everybody who's listening to this podcast to understand that there is a knowledge which is laying right now there, and if you're willing to understand how your mechanics works, you would understand your partner, and then connection. With connection, everything heals. The connection is our primary need for survival. Yeah. Primary. Next to having food and being warm, primary need for survival. No human baby is able to survive without love. No human baby.
No, they did nasty.
They discovered. Well, I know it's in the war. They discovered that when a baby doesn't have love and hasn't warmth from a human being, they don't make it. We can't make it, and this is deeply coded into our brain. So, and what our brain does not have, the reptile brain, the amygdala, it's time span. It doesn't know if yesterday is yesterday, today is today, or you're 2 years old, or you're 8 years old, or you're 60 years old. The reaction is the same. Yeah. Because it's protective reaction. You know, the brain now knows that if I put my hand on a fire, it will put it up. And the same is when we lose connection, because connection is the primary need for survival. Yeah. And that's the primary brain function that you survive. And at the moment my partner says something to me, which could be very simple, something like, hey, is the dinner ready? If it reminds me to something really subtle, maybe the tone of voice, or which triggers in me the thing of, I'm not doing it good enough, it can activate the amygdala, and the amygdala activates the shutdown system. and then we're disconnected.
And the chimp in it.
And the chimpanzee or the turtle. With me is the gorilla. Yeah, it's definitely. I'm a fighter.
Yes, me too.
Okay, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, you know, when you know that's your surviving strategy, and what is a chimp? It's the chimpanzee who is, when it's in pain, the chimpanzee is doing everything possible to reach their partner. And only, you know, I would scream, I would fight, I would chase you in the search of connection. Yeah. Actually, deep inside of me, I'm afraid to stay alone, the chimpanzee. Yeah. And so I'm gonna do everything for a response, also the bad things. Yeah. A bad response is also a response for me. But what I want to hear from you as a partner is, are you there for me? Or do we have a connection? And usually a chimpanzee marries, finds a turtle which goes behind the shield and it's invisible. Yeah. And so there starts a war, because the more I knock on the door of the turtle, the more it closes. And the more it closes, the more I will knock. And then you lost the connection. There is no connection. It's like you said, above ground. We need to go. This needs to calm down in order to get into your feelings, and only through your vulnerability you can cross the bridge again.
And how did you were in a dynamic, the chimpanzee and the turtle?
We are still.
Yeah, of course. But
I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course. Of course. But how did you manage to when it was very heavy and it was to get out of it? What did you do?
In the crisis period, we got help. We needed help, so we did a lot of external help. I read every book on relationship you can imagine, and we did almost every evening a ritual, an exercise. So we went in the love gym like consistently, hours every day. So we trained our love muscles. Yeah. And what we learned there is, when you escalate, when somebody pushes your button, your brain actually does flips. And when one brain flips means that the amygdala just took control over everything. So the reptile brain says fight, flight, freeze. Connections are shutting off. You're narrow visioning. And the worst is your cognitive part in front here, the prefrontal cortex, has less blood, so it doesn't function. And so you cannot think straight, and you cannot come to solutions, although we all want a solution in a fight or in a crisis moment. It's not the moment to find a solution. And you cannot empathize, so you cannot see anything from the perspective of anybody else, which is dangerous. So we learned that this flip the lid, we call it, it takes 20 minutes minimum to calm down, and in order for your system to get balanced again, and to get enough blood flow here in front of the prefrontal cortex, and to get back to your feelings, to what I feel.
Why does it take so long?
I don't think it's long.
It's when I use the heart math and the techniques, and you can but then you're not in a really high state. But if you're a little bit anxious, within 1 minute with the breathing exercise, you calm your system. So I think, maybe you can do it in 10. So that's my question pops up. If you really conscious breathe and use the technique to calm your nervous system. Yeah,
when you really, when somebody touched a wound, I think you're in such a pain that you have to be a very conscious person to say, I'm in such a pain right now, give me 5 minutes, I'm gonna do my breathing exercise. I mean, this would be ideal. I'm gonna do my breathing exercises, and I'm gonna come in 10 minutes back to you, and we're gonna have a conversation. And that's mastery. Really, I do know people who regulate, and it's a practice, it's potty training for the brain. So regulating your system it's important. And by the way, brains communicate. So my brain communicates with yours. If mine is in fight flight, immediately activates yours, unfortunately. So the defense, we are made like this. We are mammals. So for our survival, all our tribe, even if we wouldn't say something, this is the communication, run. Or fight. But when I calm my system, my brain also can regulate yours. And that's really beautiful. That's really beautiful. We are very connected creatures, actually. But 10 minutes, I would love that.
Yeah. Right, when I'm really in my pain or triggered, I cannot manage it. But yes, it's from consciousness that I say, yeah, of course, but no. When I go back to fighting, I'm not a chimp. I'm a fucking gorilla. Really.
And that means how painful is what happened.
I had so much pain in me. Yeah, if I look back on my relationships and I'm like, I had a lot of pain, and then I couldn't calm down in 20 minutes. No way.
Yeah, 20 minutes is the minimum. Well, we had to learn. We stretched. We had to learn what you just said hurts me, and I need 20 minutes time out. It's really time out, and one of us will go out, really, literally out of each other's space for a walk. The other one will have a shower. Anything, and indeed, when we would reconnect again, there will be a calm moment. And the other thing which always helped was even do the day to day. And now I must say we are a very conscious couple. And the only difference between very good couples and couples who are not conscious and fight a lot is that good couples know how to repair fast. That's the only difference. It doesn't mean that good couples don't fight.
No, of course not. I think it's
humans.
Not healthy when you fight. It's
and fight because some people say we never fight, and I'm like, okay, let me rephrase that. When you disagree and there is this cold stilte, there is silence in between the two of you, and you're both in the car looking at the other side of the window, and there is no connection. When the door of the breach is closed, that's a fight for me. And so it is important that you know how to open that door, but you have to first open this door here. And I lost my sentence before that. But good couples also fight. And the only difference is we know how to repair faster. And we do use apology afterwards and self-inquiry. What happened? What does this trigger in me? What do I carry within myself? What is the deeper layer of it? Where does it actually come from? And the other thing we used that was my thought is when we get triggered, we say, I see you. Last time I was in a hurry and I say, I see you, I see something triggered you. I really need to go now, bring the kids, and then I have a meeting, and then I have another meeting. And you want to solve it now, because when you're in pain, you want to run out of the pain. So you want a solution now. But you can't find a solution because you're in your survival modus. And it's very nice if you tell your partner, I see it's really important for you. Can we talk tonight about it? Immediately calms down the system. That's a very simple way. But you have to really tonight really do it. You cannot be a liar and say tonight and then you don't show up.
No.
So that's another way to calm down. Or take a break, or say, I really don't have the moment now. I see it's important for you. Let's have a look tonight at 8 o'clock at our chairs. We have our chairs, our sanctuary place where we have our conversations. And that calms down. That gives hope, and it's really, it's a place where you can find a solution.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's I think very helpful for everybody who is listening.
And I hope.
Yeah, I have a few tools to practice.
Yeah, Yeah, I think everything in this book I wrote are the things which helped us. And everything in this book is what we've learned, what are techniques we are still using, which got us from the gutter, really from the deepest of the deepest of the deepest, in the dark hole of hell. Really, if there was a hell on earth, I think we've been through it. And the only thing was consistent practice, and being conscious about our parts in it, and building new rituals which rejuvenated our relationship. That was the whole part of it, and it works. Only people have to be willing. People come to me. There are two types of people who come to me. Some couples are in a lot of pain, and I love these couples because they're willing to do the work.
Yeah.
Only when you're in a lot of pain, unfortunately, you're really doing to do anything to get rid out of the pain, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
And they're my best students because they're like, Emma, just tell me and we're gonna do it. And they're committed, they sit with each other, and they're brave enough to go through the pain, because through our pain we heal. It's like this. We made like this.
Yeah.
And they're the second type of people who come just for just to have some information, for APK. The APK, you call it in Dutch, right? And we have beautiful sessions, but out of my sessions doesn't happen much. And that's what I'm saying. You do not go to the gym, and I always use this metaphor because it's just so visual and so straight to the point. You don't go once to the gym. You train for 1 hour and a half. You ate that day a smoothie, a healthy salad, and you just go in front of the mirror and say, "Where is my perfect body?" With 1 hour, right?
No, it's not.
It's a consistent rhythmic practice, and it's an investment. Your relationships are an investment point.
Yeah.
It doesn't go by itself. It just doesn't go by itself. And it's
I think a lot of generaliseren. A lot of women want the prince, and you see it in movies, and it's like so you're programmed to it's romantic and it's working and I don't have to invest and
Hollywood screwed it up.
It's like a really deconditioning your system and then enter the dirt and then go through it and cry and scream and do fuck what is needed, and then you see the light. Oh wow. It's very
I think social media, Hollywood really there are some very good movies though on relationships, but I think we unfortunately have the model of relationships should be low. They should be by themselves nice. And that's the trick of nature, because nature actually, in order to match you to this unfinished business, your partner, you would never choose for your partner if you were not drugged. It's really sorry to say it. You would never choose your partner if you were not so drugged in the beginning, because he or she will stretch you, and that's why we chose them actually. So we relate to relationships as only this first part of our relationships, which is in my book there are 7 steps to actually go through the full cycle of relationships, and we expect them to only to be the first step. So it's 1/7 of the whole spectrum. And it's disappointing. It's disappointing when the hormones leave your body and you're not aware that that's the most normal thing on the planet. And it's uncomfortable because when the hormones leave your body, your Superman or Superwoman all of a sudden is just the most normal person on the planet, who also goes to the toilet, who also have hairs everywhere, who has habits which you do not appreciate. And then the hard work starts. Nobody prepared us for.
No.
And you get an advice from your grandmother, just hold in there and, survive. Or you decide to drop the string and say next, which most of us do, especially in the society where there are thousands of possibilities on the palm of our hands. Only when you have children and you have decided to have a family, you carry certain responsibility with you, which I think, I think when children come into the game, and it touches me very much because I'm a child from divorced parents.
Me too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And we have double the chances to have a divorce ourselves.
Years, example.
Yeah. Well, I'm also divorced, but it's not different. So we tend to have double the chances for divorce ourselves, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because what we've learned at home is subconsciously is the right thing to do, and subconsciously we attract it.
Yes.
And I think honestly, right now there is a bigger pandemic than COVID. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And it's been there for many years, and it's called a divorce, unnecessary divorce, because there is necessary divorce too.
Course.
I definitely don't I want to emphasize that, but unnecessary divorce, divorce where I have so many couples who, or men or women who come and cry and say, I wish I knew this earlier. I would never left my family, or I would never let things just happen by themselves. I wish I knew earlier. And there's so many great people who haven't done anything wrong. They just didn't have the tools and the knowledge. And this is really my mission, is to really, really, really educate people in the path of love, because it's learnable. It's a skill, and if it's learnable, it's a skill. It's the first time in history that we can control our love relationships. Yeah. Because I promise you, and I do it in seminars, and you've been, I always give the example with the 10 push-ups. Yeah. If you invest in your love relationship as much as you invest in your work, in educating yourself, in the fitness, in wherever you invest, in your hobbies, whatever you invest in your time with passion and regularly, it has no chance to fail. Yeah. So it is not a mystery, which comes and goes and overwhelms us and leaves us. No, the hormones comes and go.
Yeah, of course. It is. When I look at my parents' divorce when I was 8, and since then I was having a boyfriend and another one, and even in primary school, and you see of course I see the links now, but the hormones, I loved it. I was always with my pink glasses, and I didn't see anything bad, and then the glasses went off, and I was like, oh no.
Oh, disappointment, it's not him.
No.
Yeah.
Always very, I find it very funny now, but it's I think a lot of people have it, and they want to live the fairy tale, and I think the rawness of being real and do the work together and help each other grow and heal. I think there's more beauty in it and depth than the fairy tale. Programmed for or.
Well, you are absolutely right, and the thing is, we don't know there is a next step. That's the foul cow. That's the problem. We think, at least I thought, I don't know what other people think, but I think most of us think it was great. It was a nice period, and as every couple, we settle, we have children, we move into our house, we have our common friends, we have, life, it's meant to be like this. And I couldn't disagree more, because relationships go from the phase of in love phase, the magnet phase, where you can really glue each other, and then eventually you go through several phases, and you go through a crisis here and there. It's impossible not to. Yeah. It's impossible. Don't run away from the crisis. No. The crisis could be the biggest gift for your relationships. Yeah. If you're not afraid from it and not run away from it before it has given you the cadeautje.
Yeah, and I think that are the unnecessary divorces.
Those are the unnecessary divorces. The
Yeah.
unnecessary divorces are where there is enough love, there is enough understanding, but I'm not willing to do the work. I'm not willing to stretch. I'm not willing to look into my shit and what do I bring to the table. And then we are both actually trying to get connection, but we are too much in our surviving strategies. So the door is locked at the bridge. And what I want to add here is that after the crisis, if you overcome the crisis, you grow stronger. But there is something really beautiful there. And that's you're going to a phase which I didn't know existed, but we've discovered that with David, that you're in love with each other again, but in such a profound, amazing, spiritual, body way. Like you rediscover your partner with totally different glasses. Now you're with the pink glasses, but they're conscious.
Yeah.
So now they're not the glasses which somebody can take out of you. They're just your lens. And the way you connect with your partner when you overcame things together, it's indescribably powerful. Nothing can move you from this place. You communicate without even saying a word. You understand each other, even if you're being far apart from each other. There is this sense of magic, which is between this space between the two of you feels like a sacred space. And you are creating things which you couldn't ever expect that will happen to you. Like the creative force which comes from a couple, which is really aligned.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
Yeah, but it's like your book. It's in
Like
3 months, but because you're in that space together, I think it's creating such a creativity in floating out of your hands and or in other workplaces. But I think it's magic. True, if you can get there.
But
and it's hard work. Yeah, and if you want willing to invest in yourself, in each other, I think.
I think it's the best investment in yourself. And unfortunately, we think our partner is the problem, but the problem is our unwillingness to look what is triggering in ourselves. If I'm jealous, what is the thing I actually want and desire? If I'm hurt, what is the thing which happened to me, and what is the story I actually believe? What is the subconscious belief I still carry with me, which is not serving me anymore? And actually your partner is your best gift for growth, into wholeness, into this person who is really sitting in their center and is fully enjoying aliveness. And that's what your partner is bringing you back to aliveness, back to wholeness. And if you see your partner in that way, he wouldn't or she wouldn't be the problem.
No.
They're your best teacher.
Yeah.
Are you willing to sit in their classroom? Are you willing to sit in their classroom, or are you're rebelling and trying to run away from the lessons?
Yeah.
That's a little bit how you can see partners.
Yeah. And how are you? Because a partner is a really great teacher, but how your kids? I think it's
yeah, the best, even better. The next level teacher. Yeah. Children, they're the most amazing thing, I think, in our lives, and for the people who have the privilege to have children. And they're very much stretching my children, stretching my boundaries, my sense of guilt, my sense of because I'm not from here. So culturally, what does the Dutch culture does with me, and what do I want from the Bulgarian culture for them to have? But also as a person, I repeat the same mistakes which my mom repeated, and how can I, train myself, work on myself, not to be as explosive. As busy, I'm a busy mama, and I'm trying to find the balance there, and definitely the best teachers.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, I have great mirrors with my kids.
Yeah, you have 3.
I have 3. Yeah, and 3 totally different.
Yeah, they're totally different.
Yeah, especially I'm in a phase with my oldest now. He triggers me, and then in that my gorilla is on, and then in the moment I have to go down and wow, you're triggering me deep now. It's really I love it that I can learn from them. They're mirrors, teachers, and we deepen the connection. And of course, I see them 50% of the time.
Oh yeah.
And first of all, I cried my heart out that I had to miss it. And it's growing up is letting them go and develop in their person who they are. But because you have a big step at once, I cried. But now I learned that connection is so strong, and it's not about time, but it's about the quality and willingness to open presence. And also, can I share my hurt? Can I share their hurt with divorce and really open up? And it's it is an intense process, but it was very healing and for them and for me but also my childhood part. I was also 8 when my parents divorced, so of course it came up and I think also unconsciously I chose this because I needed to heal it and it's still going up. Of course, it's 2 years now, so I'm
okay.
It's it's present and I'm still in there, but wow, it's I think it's a very beautiful
quite of a journey.
Sometimes fucking annoying gift, but it's
the gifts which we don't want to unpack. I know.
But it's beautiful.
Yeah, well, because I learn with children. I work with children. I don't work with children, but I work with the adults who sit in my chairs here. And we visit their childhood stories, which they carry still till the day of today with them. And so with these children I work, and I'm so much more aware that what my children need, because I hear all the stories here of people, parents haven't been there, parents have been busy, been abusive, alcohol, and so this makes me so much more conscious as parent to give them, maybe not time-wise, but when I'm there, I'm really there for them, and opening up their emotional world and teaching them how. So what is very important, and I meet people, grown-ups, who does not have vocabulary on emotions. How do you feel? I don't like it when she's talking to me like this. Okay, so how do you feel? What does it do with you? Now I go out, and what is the feeling behind? So I get all kind of answers, but there is no feeling, because people never learned about feelings. In Tekendeel, Dutch society, and I think many societies, but think with your head. I am gonna make an album, I promise. I'm gonna make a quote list from your Dutch expressions, which you have to think with your head and don't trust your feelings. I've heard like many nuggets here, golden nuggets you have Dutchies. In order to don't trust your feelings, think straight with your head. Be rational. Do normal. And so we teach our children not to express emotions. Boys don't cry, men up. So men. I'm a man only when I'm tough. When I don't express my emotions, I cannot cry. And my little one cries a lot. It's a boy. And sometimes I was like, what's happening right now there? When he cries a lot, I'm like, please. And then I'm thinking, okay, what is it triggering in me actually? What is this part in me, not in you? And being there, full presence. I think this is the medicine we all carry within our hearts. Being fully present, not in your story, but across the bridge. In your child's, in children. What are they trying to tell you? maybe they cry about the bow. It's not about the bow, which they
No,
lost
of
in the
course.
water because we
No.
live in a boat and everything disappears in the water. It's not about that. Mama, you haven't been there for last week. You've been so busy. So what is really, really their needs?
Always, I always ask. Are you sad? Yeah. What's going on? And it's about, you have a ball. My daughter, she had a ball in her eye in gym class. But what's going on? I know it's not a ball, but it's and learning them to feel and express it and being there. I think it's necessary.
I think this is the new, if there was an emotional bank account, I think these are the richest people of the future.
Yeah.
Understanding how to express emotions and how to deal with them, and that would give you the gift to be able to connect with anybody in such a profound way. I think really this is the future.
Yeah, me too.
The future is much more about relationships. Any relationships, not about loving relationships only, but any relationships. The people who understand relationships in the future are going to be the richest people. And richness is so much more than just money.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
I think, and it's also, if you see the period now, people cannot touch each other, cannot.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's the positive side of it that everybody feels. Connection is key. Touching, holding each other, being with each other. So
absolutely,
that's the upside of the corona. What's happening in my vision.
Yeah, corona. Yeah. Well, there was a research done recently on, on these full body scans where they put you in a small tunnel and it's very claustrophobic. MRI. And when you go by yourself, they detected what happens in your brain. When you go by in with some person holding your hands, so the stress levels when you go by yourself are, let's say, 90. It's like very stressful experience because it's so claustrophobic. And plus, it's spanned. You don't know what's gonna come out of the results. I think it's pretty uncomfortable. When you go by yourself, levels are 90. When you go and somebody, a known person, holds your hand, levels drop to 60. Right. When you go and your loved one or a loved person is holding your hand, levels drop to 20. It's like 90-20.
Yeah.
And then you can, and that's a small example of how important we are for each other. Yeah. And how important touch is, especially in vulnerable moments. But touch is extremely important. And I heard a psychologist said recently a COVID measure for people who are alone, because I'm lucky to have a family and to be very knuffelig. So we knuffle, we can hug it a lot. Because hugging, it's another medicine. Because hugging automatically regulates your nervous system, produces oxytocin, and makes you happy. Point. And the more happy you are, the more healthy you are. It's very related.
And the more easy you go into connection. Again. So
you reconnect and you connect. But what do you do when you're 80 years old? You're not allowed to go out. You're not allowed to see your family. And it was self-soothing, like self-hugging. I'm there with a mic, but really hugging yourself, massaging your neck muscles. Here you make a lot of so by the neck, just massaging yourself and being your knuffelbeer. It helps. And animals, if people can afford to have a small animal, it's also very healing. So we are creatures, Homo sapiens, in order to survive, needs each other. We are not made to survive in isolation. We can't. We can't make it. Psychically, physically, we need each other. We need to feel connected. So if in COVID you can't do it by yourself.
And that's the paradox of when you walk the spiritual path, you are learning to be with yourself alone. And I think it's you need to have both sides. If you can be alone with yourself, but also you need each other, and I think there is where the magic happens.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. That's what I totally believe. Relationships, in my work, it is about me doing the work, but also together doing the work. It is not only my work, it is also together the work.
Yeah.
And then we meet in the middle, then we cross the bridge. Then magic happens. Yeah. Because in relationships, I've seen magic and I've experienced magic. And it exists more than we know. So actually what I'm teaching my couples, that they're richer than they know. Much richer than they know. And spiritual path, yeah, I don't know if it's a lonely journey.
No, I don't think so. I think I learned in my spiritual path to connect with circles and people and retreats. You work on yourself, but you do it in a group or with one another, or with one other person. And sometimes you do it by yourself, but it all. I think it's both sides. Also, the spiritual path, it's very connecting for me.
Yeah. And that reminds me of, okay, you have to tell me how much we have still, but last thing.
Yeah, I think, last thing, and then we wrap it up.
That we are also tribal creatures, and we used to live in communities. We used to live in tribes, and where I come from, I have a very strong community. They still live together. There is every weekend, they're in the mountain, they're with the children. I grew up with 12 children. We were always together. I cannot call them nothing less than brothers and sisters. We're not biological brothers and sisters, but and I'm the only one, the black sheep, who left the tribe abroad. They're still together. And the sense of security that gives you, the sense of, if something happened to me, I have somebody to catch me. It's so important. And the society where we live in is actually enhancing and asking us to be more individualistic, to be more self-sufficient, and that's kind of belonged. It's belonging where we're self-sufficient, and actually we're never self-sufficient.
No,
never.
I think if I had money, I would buy a big piece of land and start living in a community, self-sufficient and creating a bubble.
I'm coming. I'm coming to teach relationships.
Awesome. Beautiful. I want to thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you.
I think it will be very helpful and insightful for a lot of people. So
I hope so.
Thank you.
Really. Thank you. Thank you for having me.